A warm welcome. You're tuned into Eye on Africa. I'm Rochelle Ferguson-Biahi. These are the top stories. DR Congo's renowned surgeon Denis Mukwege is honoured with the 2018 Nobel Peace Prize for his campaigning to end sexual violence as a weapon of war. The 63-year-old becomes the 11th African to win the prestigious prize. Cameroonians prepare to head to the polls on Sunday for presidential election. 9 candidates in total are vying for the country's top job. We cross to our correspondent Indira Ayuk for the very latest from Yaoundé. And also coming up in the programme, Nigeria's major political parties prepare for presidential primaries this weekend. The opposition PDP have 4 candidates to choose from. Our correspondents on the ground report. But first, he's known to many of his patients simply as Dr. Miracle. Today, DR Congo's internationally renowned gynecologist Denis Mukwege was jointly awarded the 2018 Nobel Peace Prize. This for his work against sexual violence as a weapon of war. Well, the 63-year-old has treated thousands of victims of sexual violence, providing essential reconstructive surgery for women who've been raped and mutilated. 10 decades ago, he set up Panzi Hospital in the eastern city of Bukavu to treat victims. He was operating on a patient at the time when he learnt he'd won the prize. Lauren Bersticker reports.
Denis Mukwege was performing surgery when cries of joy began to echo in the corridor. When he left the operating room, he was greeted by a delirious crowd that had already begun to celebrate his Nobel Prize. For the 63-year-old gynecologist, the award was much more than a personal accolade. It was proof that the international community had finally acknowledged the cause to which he dedicated over 20 years of his life.
Even if it took some time for them to recognize us, the world has finally started listening to women.
Here, in the Panzi hospital that he founded, Mukwege and his teams treated over 50,000 victims of sexual violence. But despite the horrors of the past, the mood was one of celebration on Friday, showcasing the impact of Mukwege's work on local communities, and particularly on women.
He always helped us, even when other hospitals rejected us, and he's always been striving for peace in the region.
Over the past 20 years, Denis Mukwege has become one of the leading voices denouncing the use of rape as a weapon of war, a cause he took up after repeatedly witnessing the horrors of sexual violence, particularly in the DRC's South Kivu province. And for the man who repairs women, there is still much work to be done in order to end these practices, particularly in his own country.
Well, for more on this, I'm joined by Colette Brackman, who co-directed The Man Who Mends Women, a critically acclaimed documentary about Dr. Denis Mukwege. First of all, Ms. Brackman, thanks very much for speaking to France 24. Your reaction on Dr. Mukwege being jointly honoured with the 2018 Nobel Peace Prize?
Well, what is your question? I did not hear it very well.
I asked you, first of all, your reaction to him being awarded this Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, I'm very moved because finally it's justice given to a man who has spent his lifetime fighting for those women, pleading for their rights and curing them not only physically but also psychologically to be with them. And so it's really an accomplishment, a lifetime accomplishment. I'm very moved and happy.
I mean, you who's filmed him, who's seen Dr. Mukwege at work, what struck you the most about the surgeon?
Well, it is his empathy. He's not only a surgeon, a technician. Of course, he's treating the patients, curing them, and so. But also, he's there. He has a presence. He has a charisma with the woman. You know, he's a man of. It's a very good man. So it gives some empathy to the woman. That is the most important thing. And also when he's speaking around, explaining the problem, and so it captures the audience by the force of his convictions.
I mean, within your film, Dr. Mukwege says that the future of DR Congo lies with these courageous women. Despite the atrocities that he's seen, he still remains hopeful.
Yes, because and more than that, I really believe that he's taking his own strength because of those women, because of their will of life. Those women have been destroyed. They suffered the most terrible things, attempts to their life, to their body, to their mind, and so humiliation. And still they keep on. They want to stand up to keep their family, and so. And the doctor used to say, "I take my force and my courage out of those women. They give me the strength to go on," which is a very, very powerful message.
And just a final question: as a filmmaker, what inspired you to want to tell this story?
Yes, I knew Dr. Mukwege for a long time, since the year 2000, and I tried through my stories, my articles, to explain what was going on, but it was very little publicity. It was difficult to explain. So I had the idea that he was a wonderful hero, a sort of Congolese hero, and I had this idea to make a portrait of him, to give his life, because the story of his life is a story of a piece of Congo history, the rebellion, the war, the cruelty of the war, and so he has gone through this, and he is still there, and his own braveness, his resilience is the same of the Congolese people, of the women of his country. So I had this idea to explain this.
Okay, Colette Brakeman, the co-director of The Man Who Mends Women. Thanks for your time tonight. Next to Cameroon, where an estimated 7 million people are expected to cast their ballot in presidential elections on Sunday. In total, 9 candidates will be vying for the country's top job. President Paul Biya, who's been in power since 1982, will be banking on his experience to retain his seat. For the very latest on this, let's take you to Yaoundé, where France 24's Indira Ayuk is standing by. Indira, just talk us through, first of all, the atmosphere there. Campaigning officially ends on Saturday. Are Cameroonians enthusiastic or apathetic?
Well, Rochelle, Cameroonians are very enthusiastic. For the first time in over 20 years, we can see Cameroonians who are waiting anxiously for the presidential elections, the different opposition parties, 8 of them who are challenging President Paul Biya, who has been in power for 36 years now. Now, the supporters can be seen all over the streets of Yaoundé, the capital of Cameroon, as they are expressing their excitement and hoping that one of the opposition candidates is going to be elected as president of the Republic of Cameroon. It should also be noted that last-minute campaigns are ongoing, because campaigns are due to end tomorrow, Saturday, at midnight. That is, they have less than 24 hours to convince more and more of their supporters to cast their ballots in their favor. Meantime, there are still rumors that there's going to be a coalition between some of the major opposition candidates. We're talking about 2 legal minds, Keremuna and Maurice Kamto, who may, according to rumors, who may be merging their efforts together and picking one of them to become president or to be elected as president of the Republic of Cameroon. Now, we are still waiting for confirmation from the different opposition candidates about a possible coalition 24 hours to the end of campaigns. Hopefully, that announcement will come sometime tomorrow, that is before the elections, which come up on Sunday, the 7th of October.
All right, Indira, so you talk about a lot of enthusiasm there. It has to be said, though, the Anglophone crisis is looming over these presidential elections. Are we expected to see voting in the southwest and equally the northwest regions?
Well, if we want to look at the temperaments of the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon over the past couple of weeks, I must say we have doubts that there's going to be elections in that part of the country, because so far only 2 presidential candidates have been able to go over to either the northwest or the southwest regions of the country for their campaigns, because the pro-separatist fighters do not want to hear anything about the elections. They do not want to hear anything about politics. So we are not sure, as most most of the people in that part of the country do not have voters' cards. Most of them have been complaining that they do not have the possibility of going to withdraw their voters' cards. So it's going to be a surprise if there are elections in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. That is even 80%. For now, we can only keep our fingers crossed and hope that by some miracle, as the electoral body elect can put it, they're going to do everything possible to ensure that at least a good number of people are able to vote in the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon.
Indira Ayuk for us in Yaoundé. Thank you. Nigeria will meanwhile hold presidential elections next February. This weekend, though, the two major political parties are holding their presidential primaries. Now, the leader, Muhammadu Buhari, is widely expected to be endorsed as the ruling APC's candidate. The opposition PDP, though, have four candidates to choose from. Among them, the Senate leader, Bukola Saraki. France 24's Anna Cunningham reports.
This is Bukola Saraki, Nigeria's Senate leader. In August, he defected from the ruling APC party to the opposition PDP. His supporters have their sights set on him as their presidential hopeful.
Being the president that when he stands and you look, I am proud, that is my president. Being the president that will talk, because today, to create jobs, it is not government. It is the private sector that can create wealth. But to do that, you must talk their language.
In 2015, the former military ruler Muhammadu Buhari, who once took power in a coup, became the democratically elected president, ousting the People's Democratic Party, who had ruled since 1999. But Buhari's party has been dogged by defections in protest at his leadership style. But the APC don't believe Saraki is a real threat.
Anybody that knows Saraki knows him with his ambition. He's fueled every day by his ambition, not by the interests of Nigerians or even the interests of the people of Kwara State, where he comes from. So we are not, but we are used to this kind of politicians. They are called bread and butter politicians.
Saraki has long been seen as ambitious, with his sights set on Nigeria's top job. But his prominent rise over 17 years as presidential aide, governor, senator and now Senate president has been hit by allegations of corruption, which he denies.
Today, out of the aspirants that have come out, I believe that my track record has shown that I have the capacity, I have the ability, I'm bold, I'm courageous, I can stand for the right thing.
But for all his talk, Saraki has to defeat some political heavyweights first, including former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, former Kano Governor Rabiu Kwankwaso, and the Sokoto Governor Aminu Tambuwal.
Well, just to remind you, Iron Africa team will be back in 45 minutes' time. Up next, though, Thomas Waterhouse is here with more international headlines. Stay tuned.